So I have this really weird issue going on right now in terms of being a parent. So I've been away for a little while because I had my mother come out so she could meet her grandson along with her boyfriend, and it was great. And, you know, I'm sorry that I've been away for a while. I know that you're so crushed. But while they were here, we went shopping a few times, and I don't want to say that my hand was forced, because it wasn't really very difficult for me to decide to go ahead and grab it, because I saw how into the item everyone with me was, including my wife. But we got this, it's like a rock and play sleeper. And what we realized pretty quickly was that our son nodded off and slept in this thing fantastically. And for a while. And we realized that, you know, maybe he was sleeping a little bit too long in this thing. So my wife started looking into it, and she found that a lot of people reported that these rock and play sleepers can make the back of your infant's head flat, which caused some alarm, right? So I looked into it more, and we've got a swing for him. We have another kind of inclined chair for him, and now we have this rock and play sleeper. And it's designed, quote unquote, and marketed to be a sleeper. So I go online, and I'm looking into this thing after my wife kind of raises the concern about this back of the head flatness that can occur from these types of chairs and swings and sleepers. And I look into it even more, and I realize, you know, this kid shouldn't really be sleeping in this thing at all. Because if you look at the guidelines for, you know, protecting your child against SIDS, one of the biggest issues is to make sure that your child is on a flat, firm surface. And this rock and play sleeper is neither one of those things. It's like a bucket that your kid's ass fits into like a glove. And I assume that's why it's so easy for them to fall asleep in these things. And I'm sure that other people out there will tell me, oh, it's fine. I had my child in it for years or months or what have you. But, you know, there's always an exception to any rule you can come up with. So if it is the fact that this goes against the kind of health guidelines against SIDS, then why are they marketing this thing as a sleeper? And why is that all my son wants to do in it? Very strange. All right, let's get on with the show. As I said, Grandma came out last week and visited her first grandson, and it was great. It was a really nice opportunity for her to meet him, and him to never remember her until he sees her again, once he kind of has consciousness under his belt. But it was really fantastic, because I got to see my mother light up in a similar way to that when my first niece was born, but slightly different as well, right? Because now she has the grandson that she wanted, and that's not to say she didn't want her nieces. She loves her nieces to death, but she would have loved to have had a grandson, and now she does. And that grandson can carry on a name that none of us gives a shit about. So, the excitement can only go so far. But it was a joy. Right? My only problem was that I had work for both of my jobs while they were here. And as a little tidbit I haven't shared before on the podcast, I teach higher education. I'm a professor of cinema and screen studies and English courses. And I love my job to death. I especially love the fact that I can teach what it is I want to teach according to the course guidelines rather than having the state government or federal government say, here's what you shall teach, and here are the texts with which you shall teach it. Heil. It's very nice to have a little bit of freedom there for now. So it was a double edge. I wish I could have spent a bit more time, right? But it was very nice. It was, there was a couple more people around that if the little man got upset, we're more than happy to take him from my arms and help me calm him down, and that was fantastic. But I'm wondering if other people out there have this same issue. My mother loves her grandchildren more than anything, right? And when she has an opportunity to do something for them, she'll do it regardless of the cost, and kind of puts me as a father in a kind of a weird position, because I'm not sure exactly where that line needs to be drawn, right? Where I appreciate exactly what it is you're doing, but maybe at the same time, these are things that I should be doing. So, she left us with diapers and clothes and all sorts of things, and I keep telling myself to just accept and appreciate these things graciously, because there will come a day when that won't be there. And it really kind of makes me aware of my own humanity, and I'm sure it kind of makes her aware of her own at the same time. And I don't mean this to sound deep at all, but it's really a moment that didn't hit me in quite the same way when my wife's parents came out to visit our son. Right, it was their first grandchild, so it was a monumental moment for them. And it's not that it was lost on me, but it wasn't until I saw the look on my mother's face that it really kind of impacted me for what it really was. And again, it's not to say that the impact of my son's arrival didn't strike me as deeply as it should have, because it absolutely did in every way conceivable. And parents know what I mean when I say every way conceivable. But there's something different when it's your parents that you're kind of introducing the grandchild to. And I suppose some of it is hedged a bit by the fact that we live as far away from our family as we do. We live about 800 miles away from most of our family and our friends that we grew up with. And it's not to say that we regret that, but when we have these moments, they impact us on a deeper level, because we know that this is going to be our moment as a family to spend with those members that may not be able to be out here as often as they wish they could be, because they have their own responsibilities. So it was really quite an amazing period of time, and I look forward next week. My brother and his wife and my 2 young nieces are coming out, so I kind of open up the show this week mentioning that, because episodes may come out sporadically for the next couple weeks because we have so many visitors coming around. Although I will do everything that I can to have my brother on the next episode as my first guest, speaking about the ways in which children impact us in a little bit of a different perspective. So I have a just shy of 2-month-old son. He has a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter. So having him on should provide a little bit of perspective that I'm not aware of myself at all, but may be able to speak to some of the fathers out there or mothers out there of daughters, and it should be a good time. But hang tight. I'm doing my best to get episodes out as quickly as I can, but if there's a little bit of kind of gap in between, just bear with me. It doesn't mean that I'm abandoning the podcast at all, not whatsoever. In fact, I'm working right now on getting the podcast on various apps for podcasts specifically. So if you're not able to log on to YouTube, say while you're driving or commuting to work, then you can jump on an audio service and listen that way as well. So hang tight, and I'll be able to let you know about those types of things as they come to fruition in the very near future. So one of the things that is happening lately that is new for my wife and I is that our son is beginning to sleep for longer periods of time. And it's not uncommon for kids to begin sleeping for longer blocks of time, if not through the night, between months 2 and 3. Usually right around 3 they start sleeping for bigger blocks, but it's not unheard of that it happens around 2, and our son is just shy of 2. And today he slept for a solid 5 hours without eating, and my wife was horrified. She wasn't sure if something might be wrong, and I kept doing my best to console her and tell her that everything is fine. Baby, everything's fine. He's okay. Is he breathing? All right. He's okay. Did he eat the last bottle? Okay. Is he still urinating? Okay. You don't need to tell me whether or not he's shit, because I changed the last diaper. Another Jif cannon, and it was riding the fucking rim this time. It was grinding that sumbitch, and I don't know how he didn't get any on his leg. Okay? He's shitting, he's pissing, he's eating, and he's sleeping. Let him sleep. Because when he wakes up, he's going to be screaming for either attention or a baba. And you better have both ready to go. Okay? So enjoy these moments as they last, because they're going to be short-lived. Because his ass is going to be demanding something once this sleep spell is done. And he did. Oh, Lord, he did. He was pissy for about 3 hours. But Daddy had the fix. My wife recently returned to work, which was about the most terrifying thing I have ever been through in my life. Because I've been alone with my son for short spells. Right? She goes down to the store, she goes down to the bank, she comes back. But this was the first time I was kind of alone and in charge of the care of my infant son for about 8 hours. And I reassured my wife as she walked out the door for work. I said, everything is going to be fine, baby. I got everything taken care of. Look, he's sleeping right now. When he wakes up, I got a bottle ready to go for him. It's in the fridge, just waiting. I have his pajamas ready to go. They're laid out. His next diaper's already laid out. Everything is okay. It's all right. It's fine. Enjoy your work tonight. Enjoy a little bit of time off, so to speak. And we will love to see you when you get back. And she smiled and she said, I love you guys. And she left. So my son is sleeping, and I say, okay, perfect. I can relax. You know what? I'm going to do? I'm going to play a video game. Because I haven't played a video game in a while. And my wife's at work. And even though she's not against me playing video games, I still have this kind of inherent feeling that I have to entertain everyone at all times. So I can't play video games around other people typically because I don't feel right. So she's gone. He's an infant. And play a little bit of video games. So I turned on my PlayStation 4 and I fired up Elder Scrolls Online. I said, sweet. I don't know shit about this game because I've played it in about 35, 40-minute chunks since I bought it for some fucking reason. Knowing that I have a newborn, I bought this fucking game. After having played through Elder Scrolls Skyrim, which is one of the biggest games that I've ever played. I still bought this fucking thing, Elder Scrolls Online, after my son was born, like an idiot. So I said, okay. My wife's at work. My infant son is sleeping. It's perfect. It's perfect. I'll play a little bit of this. So I fire up my PlayStation 4. I throw the disc in. Grab my controller. I sit down. I hear the nice welcoming opening sound of the PlayStation 4, and I hit start on the game, and the game is loading. And it's an MMO. It's a massively multiplayer online experience, or however the fuck the acronym goes. Whatever. A bunch of people playing online at the same time. Right? So it's got to be online to play. So I say, okay, perfect. It's a Saturday night. Somehow I got on the server. This is great. My wife's at work. My infant son is sleeping. Well, play me some Elder Scrolls Online. And I start the game, and I have my character, and everything is going good, and I see off in the distance where my next quest is. It's in a house. It's Victorian-esque. It's beautiful. See exactly where I'm going. And I start my quest. All of a football field away. And I get halfway there, and my son rips the biggest fart I've ever heard come out of anyone under the age of 2. And I laughed. And I looked at him and I said, that's a good job, buddy. That's good. Well done. When you're all set, I'm going to change your ass. But Daddy's got work to do. And I turned back to the game. And I made 2 steps with my character. And after those 2 steps, my son started screaming to such an extent that I have never heard before in my life. And I sighed, and I turned that shit off, realizing that a PlayStation 4 somehow in 2015 was a worse investment than a 2006 Hyundai Accent. I shut it off, and I started coddling my son. I held him and I started patting his back, and I kept reassuring him everything would be okay. It didn't mean shit. Kept screaming. Gave him a bottle. Spit that shit out. Swiped at me. 7-week-old. Swiped at me. Because he didn't want the bottle that I'd prepared for him. That I slaved over a lukewarm sink and a bottle warmer for him. Swiped at me over. So I said, alright, I've had enough of this shit. If you don't want a bottle, You don't want me patting your back, consoling you, letting you know everything is okay, then fuck it. You're going to get a bath, and I'm going to put you in your jammies, and we're just going to go to bed. So that's exactly what I did. And he cried a little bit once he hit the water. But for the first time since we brought him home, he settled down about 30 seconds in, and he decided that this was aight. So I bathed my son. I dried him off. I put some calming baby lotion on him. I put his sleeper on him. And he was good. And as soon as I was ready to take him upstairs, my beautiful wife walked through the door, and I realized I wasn't going to sleep for another couple hours. So tonight, I was at a loss for what my kind of coup de grace story would be to end this episode. My son, being the creative type, said, "You know what, Dad, I got your back on this. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you some shit to talk about." So my wife took our son upstairs to go to bed about an hour and a half ago, maybe 2 hours ago at this point. He'd been sleeping for a good long while anyways. She was just moving him upstairs. And we knew that when he woke up, he was going to want to eat. Because it had been about 5 hours since he'd eaten. And that was another issue for my wife about whether or not he was okay. I said, he's fine. When he wakes up, he's going to scream for that baba. And we'll give him that baba and his ass will go back to sleep. And that's exactly what happened. So she texts me, because that's the way we work it. She'll go to sleep with him. I'll come down here. I'll do a little bit of work, like talk to you guys. And she'll text me if she needs me to take care of him. So she texted me just as I was about to hit record tonight and said, "I think he wants to eat. Can you help me out? I'm really tired." Being the husband I am, I said, "You know what, baby? I'll be up in 1 second." So I fixed my son a bottle, and I went upstairs. And when I went upstairs, she's feeding him a bottle. And I forgot that we had made that bottle about 2 hours ago, or 2 hours before this went down, and he hadn't even touched his lips to it, so it was fine. And that was a 3-ounce bottle. So he had about 2 ounces of that by the time I got up to him, and I took him downstairs. So I have an ounce left of a 3-ounce bottle that we already had made, and then another 3-ounce bottle that I made because I forgot about the first motherfucking 3-ounce bottle. So I take him down, and I let him polish off the last ounce of that first 3-ounce bottle. And I look at him, and he looks at me. And I look away for a second, hoping that he'll forget. I look back, and he's still staring at me. Then he starts squawking. I say, "Oh, God damn it." Luckily, I have that second bottle ready to go. So I stick that second bottle in his face, and that's exactly what he wanted, right? It had been like 5 hours since he'd eaten. He didn't want no 3-ounce bullshit. He needed more than that, so it was a good thing I had that second bottle going. So I put that second bottle in his face, and he started drinking at what I thought was about the same pace as he had started and finished the first one off at. So he's drinking and drinking and drinking, and he gets about 2 ounces of that second bottle down. And he coughs once. And any time your infant coughs, take that bottle or that binky out of their face and you pat their back. You make sure that they're fine. So that's what I had intended to do. He coughed once. He had about 5 ounces at this point, all things considered. And I pulled that bottle out of his face when he coughed once. And the idea was that I would pull that bottle out of his face and I'd lift him up to an inclined position and he could finish off his coughing fit. And if he drooled a little bit, I'd clean him up. As soon as I pulled that bottle out of his face, this kid was like a third grade volcano science fucking project. And he spit up, I would say, a healthy ounce. All over his own goddamn face, all over my hands, shit wrapped around the back of his head, in his hair, went all over the rug in the living room. So now we have spotted cow rug. Went all over my sandals that I'm sitting in right now talking to you because my office is down in the basement and the goddamn floor is cold. And I cleaned everything up and I took his ass upstairs and I changed him because his sleeper was all fucked up. I changed his ass. And as soon as I got him in that new sleeper, he was pretty much asleep. But he grinned. And for a split second, I wasn't sure whether or not I should be pissed off or extremely proud. Because that was my boy. That was my boy smiling like that. And I decided I need to be proud. Because he's testing the limits. He's testing the limits of his stomach. When I'm holding him on the couch, he gets pissed off that he can't reach the things hanging on the wall. He wants to. It's all he wants. And I lift him up in the air, and he loves it for a split second until he realizes that I'm holding him up and he has to come back down. He gets pissed. He's trying. He's getting frustrated, and that's how babies learn. I couldn't be prouder of my son. Well, you know, as time goes on, son's about to be 2 months old. Realize that even in that very small window, they grow up. You know, I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you look at a picture of my son when he was a newborn, and you look at a picture of him at 2 months, it looks like a completely different baby. A completely different baby. He can entertain himself for a good bit of time without us having to be on him at all points. You know, he laughs and giggles at the dogs, and he's drooling more and sucking on his fingers when he's not hungry, and everything we've read, that's a good sign that the first tooth can be about a month or 2 off, and you know, it's weird. You wonder whether or not you should put a GoPro on yourself and your wife at all times to make sure you can document everything. And then you realize that being born in the early 80s, you're in your early 30s now, your parents were never able to do that shit. And even though you're able to now, you gotta think of the creep factor when your kid is older. And believe me, we have blackmail pictures for his first girlfriend. But we don't need to have everything documented either. And we're looking forward to seeing everything that comes next. And as I assured you earlier, I'll do everything I can to keep episodes consistent, make sure the next one gets up in a timely fashion. But if it takes a bit longer, like I said, I had my mother out last week, I got my brother out next week, so hang tight. They will come. And I appreciate you listening. And even if this is a year or 2 in the future and you're coming across this for the first time, I'm sure things won't be quite different. And I appreciate you listening then, too. If you have any ideas to share, any suggestions, comments, questions, you can go to facebook.com/The Newborn Father. You can like that page and you can put your questions and post there, and I welcome them. You can go to Twitter @NewbornFather. There's no "the" with a Twitter. It's not needed. Just @NewbornFather. You tweet me. Or you can go to www.thenewbornfather.com. That's going to take you right to my YouTube page, where you can find this episode and the first 2 episodes and every episode upcoming. Do me a favor and like and subscribe. And you can like each podcast that you genuinely like. I'm not going to ask you to like something that you don't, but if you got some kind of entertainment out of these short form discussions, go ahead and give me a like. It'd be much appreciated. So until next time, this is Remy, the Newborn Father, and I'll look forward to hearing from you guys again. Take care.